Alright you guys, we're going to be taking a look at the electrical components we're going to be using to build our Overland camper with, and why we went with Mastervolt over Victron. Check it out. Alright, here we are in Mastervolt heaven. Alright, before we go through each of these components, I wanted to briefly talk about why we went with Mastervolt over the arguably more popular choice of Victron. We went with Mastervolt for two reasons. Well, I guess let's first start off. Mastervolt is an awesome company. They primarily focus on the marine environment, so their durability, reputation is great. They're not super popular in the camper RV space quite yet, but they are gaining some popularity. I know Airstream's using them now, and even EarthCruiser is now installing some Mastervolt. So I think we'll see a lot more of them in the RV and camper industry here soon. But the two main reasons we went with Mastervolt are we wanted to be able to remotely monitor our rig. So if we're a couple thousand miles away, I wanted to be able to hop on my phone, check out temperatures, check out our cameras, check out, be able to turn on lights, do whatever we want to do, basically. And that's what Mastervolt's really good at, is this kind of remote monitoring capability. So we'll be able to keep an eye on things when we're away from our rig. In addition, just the simple fact of, if you wanted to turn on the furnace before you head out in the morning, you could do that from your phone while you're in your house or whatever. So it just has some nice features built in that way. And the primary way that this system lets you do that is through digital switching. So what the digital switching is, this device here is what actually is switching on and off your electrical components. So for example, a light switch, that actual switching happens here. And so instead of running hot wires, your power out to a physical switch on the wall, all of that is just happening in this device. And that's what allows you to control it from a phone or from a touchscreen display like this, or a switch panel. So this switch panel, for example, you can program what each of these buttons will operate, and you could change your mind. You could a day later, you could completely switch which electrical components this panel runs, because the switch panels connect to the central switching hub. So literally you have complete control of your various switching needs. So if things change and you want to move some switches around, you're not actually rewiring stuff in the wall, you're just simply reprogramming these switch panels. So it's a really neat system. I didn't do a great job of explaining that, but it really gives you a ton of flexibility. In addition, they do allow manual switching here. You can actually pull the fuse and manually connect a circuit. So if you ever did have an issue, say the switch panel got fried or something, you do have the ability to manually override that, so you always have a backup, which I felt was important. Because I always get a little bit nervous getting super computer based on these rigs, but like I said, they do them in sailboats and they face some pretty harsh conditions, so I'm confident this will work for us. So that's digital switching. And then, like I said, remote monitoring were the two primary reasons we went with Mastervolt over Victron. Not to say Victron doesn't have that capability, but it just isn't quite integrated as seamlessly and easily. So this was the right choice for us to keep it simple. I didn't want to go down the road of having to program different systems to work together. This system is designed to work together. It's easy to set up, and so it was the right choice for us. Okay, so getting to the various components. This big guy here is our inverter and charger. So this will take in shore power and turn it into 24-volt charging for our 24-volt system at 70 amps. It'll also take shore power and give us electricity to our 110-volt AC outlets, and it will also take 24-volt battery power and turn that into AC power for our outlets. Next up, we have our charge controller for our solar. This is one of the areas that I think Mastervolt's a little bit weak. They don't have a lot of choices in charge controllers. They really only have technically one that I think's a good fit. They do have a couple other, but they're much smaller. Victron has a ton of choices in charge controllers, which is really nice. However, for our needs and what solar we're using, which is a little over 1100 watts, this is luckily a good system for us. This can do up to 60 amps, and I think 300 volts is the max. But for us, this is going to be great. I mentioned that we are doing a 24-volt battery system. And while most things can run on 24 volts, like our fridges and pumps and such, there are some things that have to run on 12 volt. That's what this little guy will do. It's going to take the 24 volts, turn into 12 volts, and then it's going to connect to this digital switching panel. So we will have a separate set of 12 volt circuits for things that have to run on 12 volts, and that will also be digitally switched with this device. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the main digital switching component. This has 16 channels on it, so this will cover the majority of our electrical needs. Talked about the switch panel. These are waterproof. They come in different configurations. You can put up to 12 switches on them. This is just a 6 switch. It's got labels. You can get them customized, or it comes with an assortment of your normal labels. This here is the shunt. So this is going to measure energy into your battery and energy out of your battery, and then of course it relays that information to the system. This here is a DC distribution panel. This is basically just a really nice organized way to hook up various DC components. So for example, we're going to have a 24 volt DC air conditioner, so it's going to come off of this. The DC charging from our inverter charger here will connect into this. It's just basically a hub that allows multiple components to connect into and just keeps things nice and clean. And last, we have our display. So this is, I think, the 7-inch. They have bigger ones as well. This is just basically the brains behind it. It gives you all of the visual, battery charging, tank levels, all of the switching. You can program, for example, if you wanted to program a set of switches to happen at night, you can program a button on here and just hit night, and that would, maybe fire up the outside awning lights, dim the inside lights. But you can basically program these preset clusters of switches. And this also is what communicates with the cell phone and allows you to manage the switching from your phone. So for example, with our kind of box truck Overland rig, we could open up the phone from the front of the cab and turn circuits on or off with our phone. The entire system is linked together with basically these kind of like a Cat 5 cable that connects all of these devices together. And that's what I really like about the system. It's just designed to work together. You're not mixing and, you know, it's not a mix and match of components, and they communicate well. One of the things we don't have here yet is the alternator. Mastervolt also makes alternators, and so we're going to have a separate dedicated alternator on our Isuzu to provide 24-volt power to the system, which will also integrate into this network seamlessly. We are going to be doing real detailed write-ups of getting this all installed, programmed, everything. So definitely stick around, subscribe as we get ready to install all of this. Our rig's still a couple weeks out, but we're getting real close. So we're excited, and hope you'll join us for the build.